Busy, active pattern. We got an icy mix for you to start the day on Thursday, pushing off towards the east. This is one of a couple remaining ice events with also snow on the north side in the next few days or so. You can see that moving out of Canada, then high pressure pushes in. We finally get a little bit of a break, but not for long. Look at this starting to form. And this guy too. So there's two systems that are going to combine here. A nice stripe of snow into portions of the Dakotas, into Minnesota, Michigan. And then you get the Gulf Coast moisture to push on in as well. And that's going to be another ice event here in the middle with some pretty decent moderate to briefly heavy snow across that northern tier that will push up into the northeast and even produce snow up into New York and Boston, Rhode Island, through portions of New England as you go into your early Sunday. Then it's going to move away. And how about another very brief break before the next system starts to form? That could be a decent snowmaker from St. Louis through Lexington, maybe Cincinnati, up into our nation's capital, and that's just wave one. Watch how more forms and pushes on out. This could be a pretty decent storm into portions of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic again, and this has got a couple possibilities. It could slide to the northeast. It could just kind of exit just like this. We'll keep a close eye on that, but plenty of moisture associated with it. It'll still probably be a powerful storm, and then maybe why not another one by Wednesday or Thursday of next week. But for the first one, winter weather advisories in effect, widespread for that ice storm warning in the high terrain of the Appalachians, sliding through West Virginia in towards Pennsylvania. Snowfall totals we'll get to in just a little bit, but ice totals aren't going to be too bad, under 1/10 of an inch for the most part. That's actually going to create a few spots, maybe a little bit more, definitely more into the high terrain there, the mountains, but this isn't going to be a huge event. How does freezing rain form? Well, it has a warm layer aloft. So it starts frozen, falls through that warm layer, melts, doesn't have enough time once it gets towards the ground to refreeze into anything. So it just turns into rain near the ground. But guess what? Those ground temperatures in the upper 20s or low 30s, so it's going to freeze and turn into ice. Now, speaking of freeze, that's what we're going to be doing across a big portion of the country here this weekend and towards early next week, but still very warm air hanging on across the deep south. That contrast is what likes to form storms and move on through that kind of in-between corridor. So that's exactly what we're going to see, well below average temperatures across a pretty big portion here of the country, but that warmth hangs on with a little bit of a southeast ridge developing at times. So what about our upcoming systems? Well, you got plenty of dynamics there. This is a little tier of the polar vortex that's going to continue to split off here, and it's cold air settling on in much of the nation, well below average temperatures, with Arctic enhancement coming down at times. So very cold the middle of the month, and then it looks like we're going to see another pattern late month that's going to be conducive for another big east and south temperature cool down because of the Madden-Julian oscillation getting into those cold phases again, kind of that what we know is like the 8-1-2 phase. So when you got that type of a pattern, that is chilly, plenty of wet moisture coming at us because there is no such thing as dry moisture, right? And how much snow is that going to exactly be? Well, over the next week or so, it is definitely going to be adding up in spots across areas that haven't seen a ton into the northern plains, upper Midwest, and then more into maybe Missouri, all the way back to Oklahoma, and then sliding through the Ohio Valley in towards D.C., into maybe Philadelphia, and certainly into the northeast as well. Multiple different systems in a very active pattern. Good few to several inches across portions of the northern plains, and then sometimes when you see it east, you don't see it west, but that's not going to be the case. Multiple feet of snow in spots across the intermountain regions of the west. So let's kind of break down a little bit of the notes of this upcoming pattern. Two icy events. That's going to be as we go throughout your Thursday and then as through your Saturday with snow to the north, and then we're watching for a couple complexes to eventually kind of equate into a lot of precipitation, a big mid-Atlantic storm. We were thinking February might be kind of warm outside of the northern plains and northwest, but now it looks like that cold air is going to trend further off towards the southeast, allowing for plenty more winter to come.
Your Norcast weather update.